Hi there, today we're going to take what we know about similar figures and go a little bit farther into congruent figures, and specifically we're going to be looking at congruent triangles. So the first thing I wanted to do is compare and contrast the definitions for similar and congruent. Similar is what we've already learned. Similar figures have the same shape and a different size. So if you imagine a shape being stretched to make it bigger or shrunk to make it smaller, it still looks the same, but it's a different size. So that's like the idea of here's a shape and you take your scissors tool and you stretch it out. It's still the exact same shape, or you make it really, really tiny, still the exact same shape, but it's a different size. So it's similar. Today, what we're going to be talking about, and we're going to spend a lot of time practicing this, is congruent. So congruent means same shape and the same size. However, maybe it was rotated or moved or reflected. Now, it'll be hard for me to keep it exactly the same in my example, but pretend I'm not stretching it out at all. So here you have this original shape, and maybe you just bring it down here. Those are congruent. So like if I duplicate it and move it, these two smiley faces are congruent. They're the exact same size and the exact same shape, but I've moved one of them. I could have also flipped one of them, or I could have rotated one of them. But as long as they're the same size, they're considered congruent. The symbols that we use look like this. And we've seen both of these symbols before. So if something is similar, we use that symbol. And if something is congruent, we use the equal sign with that symbol on top. The reason we don't say equal instead of congruent is kind of just a small detail. We say that they're congruent because they might be in different locations, or one of them might be rotated. So they're really not exactly the same, but they are congruent to each other. They have all the same measurements. So what we're going to be talking about today is if you're given two triangles, do you have enough information to say that they are for sure congruent to each other? So there's a chart up at the top that describes the different postulates, which is another word for almost rules or theorems, postulates that prove that triangles are congruent. I'm going to explain all of these, but what this means, S stands for side, A stands for angle. So what this means is that if you know this first one, if you know that three sides of a triangle are all equal to each other, we can automatically assume that the triangles are congruent. This next one would mean if you know a side and then an angle and then another side are congruent, we can say the whole triangle is congruent. That doesn't make a lot of sense without seeing examples, so let's take a look at some examples. So I'm going to start with SSS, or side, side, side. So here's where it tells us which one we're looking at. So this one tells me that if I know that these pink sides are the same, that's what that one little dash means. It means that they're congruent to each other. Those sides are the same. And I know that the two dashes are the same. So this triangle has at least two sides that are equal, and a third side are the same. This means I can assume everything about the triangles is the same. They're congruent. I know that the three sides of the triangle are congruent, and then the angles in between them must be congruent. So those two angles between the pink and the orange have to be equal. These two angles between the orange and the yellow have to be congruent and have the same exact measure. And then these two angles between the pink and the yellow have to be congruent. Those are the 6 things you can know about a triangle. You can know about the 3 sides, and you can know about the 3 angles. So what this is saying is that if we know that 3 of the sides are the same, we can assume that the 3 angles are also the same. That's the idea behind this. So this one is side, side, side. All right, so we've done side, side, side. The next one that we're going to look at is side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So this means that we have, let's see, how do I want to show it? We have this pink side of the two triangles are the same. and this orange side of the two triangles are the same, we don't know that the third side is the same or not. We don't have the information about it. But we do know that the angle between the two sides that we know about, we know that those are the same. This is enough information to say all 6 things are the same. So we could say, yes, these two triangles are congruent because two sides are congruent and the angle between them is also congruent. So that's side, angle, side. That works. The next one we're going to look at is the opposite of that, angle, side, angle. So this one says, if we know that this pair of angles matches, and we know that this pair of angles matches, and we know the side in between them matches, we can assume everything else matches too. This is enough information to say that all 3 sides and all 3 angles must be congruent. So that's angle, side, angle. Those two are kind of opposites from each other. Side, angle, side, angle, side, angle. It works either way. The important thing is that with side, angle, side, the angle is between the two sides. With angle, side, angle, the side is between the two angles. All right, let's look at the next one. Hypotenuse leg. So this means if you have a right triangle, and if you know that the hypotenuses, I don't know. If you know that they match, and you know that one of the legs matches, that's enough to say they're congruent. We also have the right angle that by definition must match too, because right angles are always 90 degrees. So we know that if there's a right angle, if there's a right triangle, and we have the hypotenuse and the leg, that's enough information to say that all 6 things are congruent. All 3 sides are congruent. All 3 angles are congruent. These 2 triangles are congruent. All right, that's hypotenuse leg. The last one that works is angle, angle, side. This is the one everyone forgets about. If you get stuck, it's probably angle, angle, side. All right, so angle, angle, side. This means that we have this angle, these 2 angles must be congruent. These 2 angles must be congruent. And then a side that is not between them is congruent. So it's not like the one above it where the pink side was between the 2 angles. The yellow side is outside of the 2 angles. It does work. Angle, angle, side. If 2 triangles have that relationship, that means all 6 features of the triangle are the same. So those are the ones that work. There's 2 that don't work. The first one, I'm actually going to talk about this one first. The first one is angle, angle, angle. And it doesn't work because this just means that the sides are similar. Think about, any random rectangle in the world, like a table. It has 90-degree angles, so we can say that all of those angles are the same. And then if we duplicate it and make a bigger table, it still has all 90-degree angles. So the angles all match, but the sides don't necessarily match. So just knowing about the angles is not enough to say that the 2 triangles or the 2 shapes are congruent. They might be, but it's not enough information. We have to know something about the sides. So angle, angle, angle does not work. The other one that doesn't work is this one. This would be side, side, angle. So this is when you know that 2 of the sides are the same. So the yellow sides are the same and the pink sides are the same. And then we know that a third angle that's not between them is the same. So like if it was between them, it would be over here. This third angle is not between them. That is also not enough information to say that these 2 triangles are congruent. They might be, but we would need more information to know for sure. So if you look at the chart that I have at the top, pretend all this other mess is not distracting you. Look just at this chart. This would be a really helpful screenshot for you to take and to put on the worksheets that we're about to do while we practice this. If you're wondering what the little picture of the donkey is all about, I'm going to explain that in a second. So to review, the ones that do work, the way I remember them is I remember side, side, side. So I just kind of have that one remembered. Then I remember these two together because they're kind of like opposites of each other. Side, angle, side, angle, side, angle. Then I remember angle, angle, side as the one that's always forgotten. So since it's always forgotten, I make a special note in my head to remember that one. And then the last one you just got to kind of remember, hypotenuse leg. The ones that don't work are angle, angle, angle. So I always remember that as kind of the opposite of side, side, side. The other one that doesn't work is side, side, angle. And let's talk about that one. Imagine that abbreviation going backwards. It's a swear word, so that's why I don't write it that way. But another word for that swear word means donkey. So I always remember that one as the donkey rule. So the two that don't work are angle, 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 because that means they're similar, but it's not enough to prove that they're congruent. And I remember the donkey rule. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, that's going to be really helpful. And in fact, I am going to take a screenshot of all of this so I can put it on my next page that I'm about to show you. All right, try to make it as neat as possible. So I'm going to show you basically what the point of all of this is and how to use it. All right, so that's going to stay at the top. So the instructions here is determine whether or not the triangles are congruent. So that's going to be step one. If they are, they want us to say what rule it is. If we have to add in any additional markings, they want us to do that. And if it doesn't work, we'll say not possible. So this is the whole point of what we just did. Let's take a look. So number one, this is how I'm kind of thinking about it. I see that they have this angle that matches, and I see that they have this side that matches. Do you see a third piece of information that we could use? It's right here. They share this side going up and down the middle. So what they really have is they have a side, that's the pink side. Then they have an angle between them, that's the blue angle. And then they have another side, that's the yellow. So pink, blue, right between them, yellow. I wouldn't actually write that down. I'm doing it just to show you. So yes, they are congruent. And then when I make the congruent statement, I have to think about what matches up with what. A matches up with C in the second triangle. B is the same on both triangles. And then D is the same on both triangles. So ABD is congruent to CBD. That means that A and C, what I'm saying by saying that is that A and C have matching angles. All right, let's try the second one. So I see that they have this side that matches, and they have this side that matches, but I don't see any third side, and I don't see any information about the angles. So they might be congruent, but we don't have enough information to say. So nope, no, these are not congruent, and we can't do a congruent statement or say a reason. So we're done with that one. Let's look at this one. I see that they have this side in common. They have this side in common. And they have this angle in common. So we have 3 pieces of information. It might be enough. Let's see. So I have 2 sides in a row. And then I have an angle that's not between them. Oh, that's our donkey rule. That's donkey. Angle, side angle does not work. So no. Try the next 3. Pause the video, see if you could do it, then come back to see the answers. All right, hopefully you've tried these. Number 4, I see that they have 3 sides in common. So yes, this is going to work. I don't really have to check it too much. That's going to be side, side, side. That's on our list of things that does work. To figure out what matches with what, this is kind of how I like to look at it, in this case at least. S is across from the one with 1 marking, and so is V. U is across from the one with 2 markings, and so is W. And then T is across from the one with 3 markings, and so is X. That's how I figured that out. All right, number 5, let's see. So I have that they both have a right angle, because if this is a right angle, that means there's also a right angle over there. So they share an angle. They share a side, because it goes down both of the triangles. But I don't have any other information about it. So nope. I can't use hypotenuse leg because I don't know that the hypotenuses are the same. And I don't know that the other legs are the same. I don't know anything about the angles. So it's not enough information. Last one on this page. So I see that they share this angle. They both have a right angle. And they share this side. And they share this side. Hypotenuse leg won't work because I don't have any information about the hypotenuse. But I do know that they have side, angle, side in common. The angle is in between the 2 sides. So this is going to be side, angle, side. And then to match it up, I know that C is the one that's next to the pink side. So C goes with the pink and F goes with the pink. D is with my right angle and G is with my right angle. And then E goes with my orange side and H goes with my orange side. So that's how I would do that. Tough topic.